feeling when you are waiting for something and you don't know how long it's going to take? Could be a hospital waiting room, could be waiting for a job to come through, could be waiting for a house sale to come through, could be standing at the school gates in the rain wondering if your child had a good day or a terrible one. Waiting is hard, but here's the thing that nobody tells you about waiting. It's not the bit waiting that actually breaks people. It's what they do while they wait. Holy Tuesday is one of the busiest days in Holy Week. And I think that's worth pausing for, because Jesus knew what was coming. He knew the cross was 3 days away. He knew betrayal was coming. He knew the arrest, the trial, the nails, all of it. And what did he do with his Tuesday? He didn't hide. He didn't withdraw. He walked straight into the temple and spent the day teaching, debating, confronting the religious leaders. The Pharisees and Sadducees came at him with trick questions, trying to trap him. He told some of his most famous parables: the 10 virgins, the talents, the sheep and the goats. It's intense. It's really confrontational. He used every hour he had left doing exactly what he was called to do. And then he walks out of the temple and tells his disciples something really shocking. That this great temple they're standing in front of, the center of their entire faith, would one day be completely destroyed. Not one stone left standing on another. So they walk up to the Mount of Olives, this hill just across the valley overlooking Jerusalem and the temple, and the disciples ask him the big question: when is all this going to happen? What are the signs? That conversation is what theologians call the Olivet Discourse, simply because it happened on the Mount of Olives. Olivet just means the olive hill. It's Jesus' longest teaching about the future, about the end times, about what's coming. And the heart of it isn't a timeline or a prediction as you would maybe think. It's a challenge. In Matthew 24, verse 42, it says this: "Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come." He's not saying panic. He's not saying figure it all out. He's saying don't go to sleep on who you are called to be just because you don't know the timeline. Stay faithful while it's still uncertain. And here's the thing, what strikes me. Jesus is saying this while he himself is actually doing it. 3 days from death, and he's still pouring out, still teaching, still using every moment to fulfill his calling. He's not preaching faithfulness, he's living it right to the end. And there's one woman whose life shows us that same kind of faithfulness can happen in our day and age. And what does it look like? More than almost anyone in the history, she's the greatest example I can think of for this. Corrie ten Boom was a Dutch watchmaker's daughter. Ordinary life, ordinary faith. Then the Nazis occupied Holland, and Corrie and her family made a decision. They hid Jewish people in their home, a secret room behind a false wall in Corrie's bedroom. They didn't know how long the war would last. They didn't know if they'd be caught. They didn't know if any of it would make a difference. But they kept doing it day after day, month after month, because faithfulness isn't something you do when you know the outcome. It's something you do precisely when you don't. They were eventually betrayed. Corrie and her sister Betsy ended up in Ravensbrück concentration camp. And even there, even in the darkest, most uncertain place imaginable, Betsy would say, "We must tell people what we've learned here. We must tell them that there is no pit so deep that God's love is not deeper still." Corrie survived, Betsy didn't. And Corrie spent the rest of her life doing exactly what her sister asked, traveling the world, telling people that faithfulness in the dark is never wasted. And here's the line she's famous for. She said, "My life is like a piece of embroidery. From underneath, it looks like a tangled mess of threads, but God sees the top side, and He has a beautiful pattern." That's the Olivet Discourse in one sentence. You can't see the full picture yet. You don't know the timeline. The threads look tangled from where you are standing, but Jesus is saying, keep stitching. And He's not saying it from a distance. He's saying it as someone who kept stitching with 3 days left. Every parable He told that Tuesday was a thread. Every confrontation in the temple was a thread. Every word on that hillside was a thread. He used every single hour He had, because calling doesn't wait for certainty. So can I ask you something honestly? What have you stopped stitching? Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a calling you felt years ago that you quietly shelved because the timing didn't work out. Maybe it's your own soul, your prayer life, your joy, the things that used to make your faith feel alive. Corrie didn't know she would survive the camp. Jesus knew he wouldn't survive Friday, and He still gave everything on Tuesday. Neither of them waited for certainty. They just stayed faithful in the next moment, the next prayer, the next act of obedience, the next thread. And here's the thing. Jesus isn't standing over you with a clipboard in His hand. He's the one who sees the top side of the embroidery, and He's saying, trust me, keep stitching. It's making something beautiful, even if you can't see it yet. And Holy Tuesday reminds us that Jesus, 3 days from the hardest thing anyone has ever faced, didn't slow down. He didn't hold back. He used every hour, every conversation, every parable to fulfill exactly what He was put on this earth to do. He kept stitching all the way to the cross. So, whatever you are waiting for, whatever feels uncertain and tangled and unclear, keep going. Stay faithful while it's still uncertain, because one day you'll see the top side, and it will be more beautiful than you have ever imagined. Have a blessed day. Bye.